Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. In 2010, Gillette blades dominated the market at 70%. And 6 years later, they were down to 54%. That's a big drop, isn't it? But how can Gillette get back into the game? Phil Masiello is one of the reasons why Gillette is losing market share. Masiello founded 800razors.com, and sales at his company were up $2 million annually before he decided, okay, let's sell this, and he sold it. However, Masiello is only one among many competitors. Harry's, Dollar Shave, and other smaller razor and blade companies, they're all responsible for the drop in Gillette's market share. And it's Phil Masiello who gives the best advice to Gillette. He says, Gillette makes a great shave. No one has ever complained about the great shave of Gillette. People only complained about the price. You take the price difference out and all of a sudden, they're back in the game. Notice what Masiello is pointing out to? He's pointing to the recurring problem. If you've ever bought Gillette's blades, the only thought that crosses your mind with every purchase is, how can 5 pieces of plastic and some metal cost $40 per pack? In New Zealand, each blade is priced at a whopping $8. 15 zillion shaves later, you're thinking of the same problem over and over and over again every time you're buying new blades. In today's episode, we're talking about the recurring problem. In the last episode on coaching, we looked at that problem of something that recurs. In the first episode, and listen to the first episode because it's really helpful. In that first episode, we talked about how you can define your niche as a coach, and more precisely, how to know that you've picked the right niche. One of the main issues that we dealt with was the concept of the recurring problem. That you have to decide on a result, and then you have to decide, wait a second, what is this problem that recurs time and time again? And here we are in the second episode, and it's a smaller episode, it's a shorter one, but we start straight away with Gillette. And it's been a recurring problem over and over again. The only thing that Gillette's users are concerned about is the factor of price. How can it cost so much? This recurring problem exists in every industry without exception. Take, for instance, the role of a media planner in an advertising agency. What is her recurring problem? It's ROI, or return on investment. A media planner's job is to decide where to spend the client's money. Will it be on social media, on TV, or just someplace else? What she decides then trickles down to the copywriters, to the designers, and everyone else in the agency. The teams then decide, okay, we're going to make more TV commercials, or we're making more radio spots, and it depends on where the return on investment is the best. The biggest problem with media planning isn't the spending of the budget, but the perception of the clients and the agency. They all have this perception. So let's take a little quiz. Supposing someone were to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the best, how would you rate television? I asked my wife Renuka, she said 3 on 10. Then I asked her about newspapers. We live in an age where barely anyone reads the newspapers. And she said something like 2 on 10. I can't remember, but the scores were pretty low. And in my perception, she was right. They had to be low. I mean, who watches TV and who reads the newspapers? And you'd think, well, we're not in the advertising industry. We don't know for sure. However, the advertising industry didn't do much better than we did. They still had their perception. When the research was done, they found that radio scored 9 out of 10. This is on return on investment. Social media scored 8. Television scored 8 as well. Of course, newspapers were down to 5. But that was still higher than what we expected. But what has all of this got to do with the recurring problem? The recurring problem is that it's perception. And that perception shows up repeatedly and consistently when you're coaching clients. Usually the same problems turn up again and again and again. At Psychotactics, we used to have the article writing course, and we just treated it as, you learn a skill about article writing, but that didn't work. So we had to look at the recurring problem. And the recurring problem is that our clients, at least, are keen on getting new clients. And they realize that articles are one of the better ways to create authority and therefore to get clients. But they struggle with speed. Writing an article takes so long that they get exhausted. And you know what happens when you get so tired, right? Your output isn't that great. The coaching system that we have in place is therefore built around speed. By the end of the coaching program, the goal is to write magazine-quality articles in 90 minutes or less. These kind of recurring problems exist in every industry. As you look across industries, across businesses, you'll find that the same problems show up over and over and over again. You can literally take a pick off the problems. They just recur over and over again, and people still cling to a generic statement like, I'm a procrastination coach, or I'm a writer's coach, or I'm a dancer coach. What you have to do is you have to get to the problem. Let's take an example. Let's say you're training a netball team. Now, netball is a sport that's played, and the recurring problem might be that nerves and pressure situations on the court is almost endemic among young players. One of our clients, Leanne Hughes, was once a netball player, and she says that playing in that netball circle is tough. You don't want to miss the goal, and you don't want to lose the game by 1 point. So how do you calm the nerves when you need to deliver that precise shot? So the recurring problem is getting the shot even under extreme pressure. This precise idea is what helps the buyer to look into whatever it is you're selling as a coach. It's a niche, it's a small section. It's not something that's big, I'm going to teach you to get better in netball. It's now you have that 1 point to score, you have extreme pressure, what are you going to do? Let's take one more example and then we'll move on through the series. Joseph is a friend of mine. He lives in Singapore and he runs training in NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Here again, we can stay at the top level. We can say NLP, I'm an NLP coach, but what we have to get to is the recurring problem. Joseph has found that coaches aren't always in the right state of mind, the right frame of mind when they're coaching others. To get into that frame of mind, the meta state as he calls it, that's very essential. And that's a recurring problem that he sees with many coaches. So he's basically coaching the coaches. And what Joseph says is that meta state is a peak performance state. It's a state of being in tune, open, connected. Clients respond well to coaches who are in this state, and as a coach, you get far more impressive results when you are in that meta state. So what Joseph does is he shows you how to move into and stay in that meta state when you're working with clients. And this is no matter how rough your day has been before that moment. See how these problems are cropping up over and over again? Gillette has its price issues. A media planner tends to have a battle of perception with clients. On the article writing course, we have to deal with the issue of speed. And Leanne, on the other hand, with her netball team or a netball protege, has to work with someone who gets nervous at that crucial moment. And then Joseph's client has the burdens of the day, but has to turn off that switch and turn on that meta state where they can listen completely to the client and then give them the advice that they need. Finding your client's problem is what you need to do today. And the coolest thing is that you can just ask them. They will tell you. So if you walked up to me and said, "What's wrong with the Gillette blade?" I would say, "There's nothing wrong with it. I love it. I've been using it for years. But $8 for this stuff doesn't make any sense." And this is what we have to look at. We have to keep looking for that recurring problem because it's there and clients will tell you. And that's all you have to do. Because what the recurring problem does is it signals that there is a solution and you have to find that solution. Every time we get into a mess, it's because we're staying at the top level. We're saying we are basketball coaches, we are netball coaches, we are media planner coaches, we are Photoshop coaches. We keep staying at that top level. Instead, what we need to do is find that recurring problem. This podcast was just very short, but it was meant to drive home that factor, which is the recurring problem is what you're looking for. So that's the one thing that we've covered, and it's the one thing that you have to do. You have to find the recurring problem and then find how you can solve that recurring problem. And the next time you stand up at a networking event or you put this recurring problem on your website, notice how people start to respond to it. And this sets us up nicely for the next episode in this series. We've looked at how we can get a niche in coaching. We've looked at the recurring problem. We've looked at examples on how that recurring problem works. But now it's about prospecting. How do we get the prospects? How do we get them to listen to us? And then, more importantly, to act on whatever we've said, instead of just listening and going, "Oh, that was nice." So that's the next episode, but let's find out what's happening in Psychotactics land, shall we? If you've always wanted to put an info product together, not just an info product, because anybody can put information together, but an information product that causes clients to get to the endpoint. And the endpoint is so critical because what it does is set the client up for the next and the next and the next. It's like a good meal. When someone swipes everything on their plate, they're going to come for the next meal and the next meal and the next meal. If they leave most of the stuff on their plate, then that's not what happens. And this is one of the points that most internet marketers and marketers in general leave out. What they talk about is marketing, which is advertising, publicity, Google ads. And the reason why you have to have so much of that and spend so much of your energy in advertising is, yes, because of greater sales, but partially because clients don't finish what you've sold them in the first place. So it's like that unfinished meal. And so they don't come back for the second one and the third one. When you get to a Psychotactics workshop, you will find that most of the people in that workshop have bought several products. They have bought many courses, 2, 3, 4 courses. And some of our courses are $1,500. Some of them are $3,500. They've done these courses and they keep coming back repeatedly. We fill the workshop repeatedly. We're able to sell more products. And yes, the quality of your work is critical. But you have to remember, it's the unfinished meal. When clients don't finish the meal, that's when they go out and they pick another meal, another meal, another meal. And then you have to get new clients all the time. And we don't usually get a lot of new clients. We have existing clients and they keep coming back repeatedly. And that's the best situation to be in. And I don't know if you noticed, but that was a recurring problem. Clients not finishing what they've bought, not completing what they bought. So there you go. There are recurring problems everywhere. But let's not forget that the 25th of January, that's when you get the Info Products course. You can get goodies at Info Goodies. So you have to go to psychotactics.com/info goodies, and there are a whole bunch of goodies that you can download. There's also a bunch of cartoons that you can get every Friday. For that, you can go to psychotactics.com/Fritoon. That's FRITOON. That's me, Sean D'Souza, saying bye for now. Bye-bye. Still listening? When I started out as a cartoonist, I had many companies. And the first one was just a business card with a cartoon drawn on it. It didn't have any name or anything of that sort. But the second one was called Toontown. And I was very proud of the fact that it was called the One-Stop Cartoon Shop. And I put every possible thing on it, brochures, I don't know, all kinds of things I put on that business card to show people that we were doing everything. So there was never any recurring problem. And you think, okay, so you've learned from there. No, I didn't learn anything. I started up a third cartoon company somewhere down the line. Nice graphics and stuff, but it was called Communicartoons. Very difficult to say and more difficult to write. But anyway, it had all of these things. Again, it was like a one-stop cartoon shop. It was only when I got to New Zealand that I realized, okay, we're really dealing with a recurring problem here. And when I spoke to several people in the ad agencies that were my main clients, I realized that when a cartoonist gave them something, a cartoon, then they had to take it because it was on paper, and then they had to scan it. So they had to send it outside, and then they had to pay $100 or $200 because you had these high-end scanners. And then they had to bring it in, and then it was this big rigmarole, this big routine that they had to go through. And all I did was I looked at that problem, which was a problem specifically at that point in time, not so much anymore. And it was, look, I'll give you a finished digital artwork. 5 minutes after I've sent it to you, you can print it or show it to the client or whatever. And believe it or not, that was the premise that got me a lot of work. In the first month after I was made redundant, I generated more revenue than I had in all the 6 months that I'd been working with the web design company. So that's kind of what you've got to understand. That's not an example about coaching, but all marketing, all kind of promotion, all kind of communication is based not around that top level, I'm a cartoonist, but what specific recurring problem are you solving? And I didn't know how good that concept was back then, but now, 18 years later, we know how powerful that recurring problem is. So there you go, real life story. I'll say bye for now and see you in 5000 BC. Bye-bye.